Michael.
I'm here.
One second.
Good morning and welcome to the 12 Attitudes and Responsibilities of Mastery. My name is Michael Bailey. And, well, we'll get started here. Let me see. I'm basically going to read off the screen and pause periodically for questions or comments. Part of the process of spiritual integration of our higher selves for the expansion of our consciousness, which is also referred to as enlightenment, involves reprogramming the way we think. Our thoughts create our reality and both our internal and external life experiences. The 12 Attitudes and Responsibilities of Mastery, when embodied and lived, will help to change our thought patterns, thoughts that we simply take for granted because they are part of our programming, our life experiences beginning before birth, and our unique perspective on our hologram, our external world. The changing of thought patterns actually changes the programming in our physical body and DNA. The 12 Attitudes and Responsibilities of Mastery are crucial to understanding what kinds of choices lead to what kind of outcomes and provide guidelines regarding choices that lead towards oneness and the freedom from limitation and separation, including financial freedom, associated with true personal mastery. Join us every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern for a more in-depth discussion of the 12 Attitudes and Responsibilities of Mastery and how they can be used to create true joy, happiness, inner peace, and personal prosperity, both emotional and financial. And I'm going to start off reading. This is basically like a poem, and it's about oneness and duality, and this is from the Tao Te Ching. Oneness. Expressed, it loses its expression. Defined, it loses its definition. In its emptiness, it is the cradle of all existence. In its fullness, it is the creator of all things. Ever empty, it surrenders into the mystery. Ever full, it creates into the unknown. Of one source, they differ in name, yet both arise from the one. Oneness beyond one. Herein lies the key to all mysteries. Duality. Beauty is seen only because of ugliness. Greatness is known only for its lack. Emptiness and fullness are born of each other. Difficulty and ease create one another. Long and short grow out of each other. High and low reflect one another. Sound and listening complement each other. Front and back follow one another. And on it goes. Thus the wise pay no heed. Their acts without words showing the way. So do all things flow without thought. Creating without possessing. Acting without attachment. Achieving without claiming achievement. Existing without laying claim to existence. Thus moves all life unto eternity. I just love that. That's one of my favorite things. Last week we ended at the, I think we were talking about negative ego or something like that. So today we're going to start with embodying the attitudes of mastery. And the first attitude of mastery is love. And these boldface, these are quotes from the people who dictate some of these things. Beloved ones, choose well. choose love, and then choose freedom. The first choice is to choose love. Love is the first one. Love is the recognition of the truth of the all-oneness. Love is to recognize that the only truth is that we are all faces of the one. Once you actually recognize that it is true, we are all one, meaning everything in manifestation is one God, one being. We are all faces of God. There really is not any sane choice other than to love all of it. If you loved any piece of it, you must love all of it, because it is the same being. Everything is a face of the one. To make any other choice in a situation other than to act in a loving way that recognizes the oneness in the other person or the other being or the other thing is completely self-destructive. Any harm you would intend to bring upon another, you bring upon yourself, because there is only one self. I think in the Bible, Jesus says, what you do to me, you do to yourselves or to all of you. Same concept. If you can recognize the love, you will begin to be able to choose action over reaction. Reaction is what happens when the victim-victimizer pattern runs rampant, where nobody remembers who was the first victim or the first victimizer. You just get caught in these, I will hurt you or I will stop you from hurting me. And to do that, I'm going to have to hurt you. Choosing love in any moment does not mean to let somebody walk on you. You can choose to recognize when somebody else is so out of control that they are not in a space where they can feel love for you right now. And you can still love them to bits right now. And that is okay. Let that be okay. Even though they are not acting toward you the way you wish they would, and they are telling you they will act the way you would like to see them act if you do this, this, and this. But if you do not want to do this, and this, and this, they are trying to barter with you. They are trying to take your power. If you see this dynamic happening in your relationships, you can choose love. And you can choose love either close up or at a distance. Some people are easier to love at a distance. You don't have to hate them to leave. You do not have to hate them to leave them. It does not mean you do not love them. It does not mean that you do not care. It does mean I love and care about me too, and I am not going to let you victimize me, because that is not helping either of us. Love is a state of vibrational harmonization. This means you need to bring yourself and your consciousness into a co-resonant vibrational pattern with it, because then you have the power to move frequency into whatever it is you are having a hard time loving, and then you can change it. We have a lot of power. It is with us all the time. But we have been told we are powerless, and we believed. What happens when you tell a race of people who are manifestors, who literally hold a thought pattern? A thought pattern creates a scalar grid, and that scalar grid creates a template for matter particles to fill out on. So the consciousness of God will rush in. The 15 rays, these are their dimensional rays, will come in and fill it out for you. What if you wipe the memory of a race like that and then tell it that it is powerless, it is sinful, it came from animals, it has to repent, it has to bow down because it was bad? What if you tell that race it is pathetic and lowly? If that race is a manifesting race, as humans are, and they believe what you just said and adopt that belief for their own, they will turn themselves into that. And this is what we have done to ourselves. There is a level of shifting in the emotional body that happens when that stuff starts to sink in. There is a frequency in understanding love to that level. Love is actually a responsibility we grow back into. It is one that feels good. When we are operating through and from our divine blueprint, things feel good. However, we are literally driven around by the pain-pleasure principle, by what they call the fight or flight response, running away from pain and toward pleasure. But our pleasure radar is not working the right way. Our pleasure-pain systems are actually twisted, where we feel good from doing stuff that is actually harmful because we feed the reversals. If you have reversals in your DNA template and you take in a reverse substance, there is a vibrational co-resonance between the substance and the reversal. You actually get a feeling of harmonious energy, a feel-good feeling. And when they talk about reversals here, what they're talking about is, for example, the reversal of love is fear or hate. So they're talking about opposites. Eventually, when we get our DNA strands straightened out and all of our reversals and fields cleared, when we feel the feeling of feel good, we can trust this is something that is good for us. We will know if something resonates with us and feels good, that it is good. The good feeling is the feeling of energy in a harmonic state with itself, vibrational harmonization. The bad feelings, icky, yucky feelings, are disharmonic energies. So if you put a reversal and a reversal together, they actually harmonize. So it feels good. And if you put the positive parts of your template together with a substance that is good for you, those parts will feel good too. So right now we have a piece of each, about 2/3 feeding our reversals and 1/3 feeding the good part. Once we are clear and are carrying Christos energy, we will feel disharmonic with something if it is not carrying Christos energy. But we will also be able to harmonize with it. We will be able to heal whatever its twist is. And for those of you who are new, the Christos refers to, it's the beginnings of the word Christ or Christos, and it describes basically the 12-dimensional, the highest vibrational state within the time matrix that we exist in. Where is the love? And I'm just going to pause for a second. These writings are addressed to a particular group. So they talk about an eGroup up here, but this can be applied to us just as well. Where is the love? Many of you, upon encountering the MCEO teachings of the inner Christ, immediately recognized and embraced the magnitude of absolute unconditional love embodied within these teachings. Others have cried, "Where is the love?" This is a projection of an inability to identify, perceive, or feel genuine absolute love onto the Guardian Alliance, who are the source of these teachings, accusing them of being unloving because they return to us the gift of truth, revelation, and differentiation. A Christic truth that inherently returns one to the necessity of personal responsibility and accountability. People don't like it when you disrupt their belief systems. Here we have been gently guided back unto ourselves and to the innate love, power, responsibility, and accountability of the God source within us. To those of you who sound this cry, we might say, the love is all around you and within all things. It is within every molecule of all creation, within the eternal and perpetual absolute love of God's source, within you and within all of creation. Absolute love simply beams from each page of the knowledge we have returned to you. and through each cell of those whom we have elected as our earthly representative speakers. The effective question, dear ones, is not, where is the love? It is, why can you not feel its presence? If you ask yourselves the latter question instead of hiding within the self-denial implied by the former, you have taken a first step in recognizing the present absence of the frequency of absolute unconditional love within yourselves, an absence which you project outward onto an innocent, love-filled manifest creation, obscuring your own ability to perceive the love that is always there by the distortion lenses of your own perceptual filters. You will see, know, and touch the absolute love within others, within us, our works, our representatives, within the external hologram, and within the very fiber of creation, when you apply free will choice to discovering, allowing, embodying, becoming, being, and freely giving the divine unconditional God-source love within you, which you can only accomplish through recognition, respect, and reverence for the living God source within. As long as you deny the vitality of the living God source within you, you will be unable to perceive or receive the genuine love that is given to you by others, by the universe, and by God source. The answer to the question of where is the love is the sincere affirmation that I am the love, and a firm commitment to embodying through action, thought, and creed this eternal Christic ideal. When you choose At-ONE-Ment, that's what the word means. Some read it as atonement, but it's At-ONE-Ment, with the living God source within you, you will know the love, be the love, embody the love, and thus you will see reflected everywhere around you the reality of the love that is the foundation of all creation. The degree to which you recognize and embrace the eternal love of the God source within you will be the degree to which you are able to identify, experience, recognize, and embrace the eternal love that is always present within all aspects of your external hologram. As the Bible says, seek and ye shall find. If you're looking for corruption and evil in the world, that's what you'll find. If you're looking for love and goodness, that's what you'll find. Some things to ponder. Take a moment and look at your hologram. Your hologram is your perceived reality around you. Take a mindful look at creation around you. Can you see the beingness within all creation? Can you see the love? These are some LTR, linguistic template reprogramming statements, affirmations to stay out loud to yourself. I am the love. I now embody through action, thought, and creed the eternal Christic ideal of I am the love. I embrace the eternal love present in my hologram now. Love and manifestation. When you think a thought, when you tell yourself something in your head, the words you choose, you have just created something. The words themselves are a creation. They have energy. That means they have a light and sound pattern. That means that they have a scalar pattern. Scalar wave templates are the things that first come into being that accrete other frequency to fill themselves out in matter. So they're like the blueprint upon which manifestation takes place. We are creating manifestation somewhere, either in our bodies or in our life out there, with every word we tell ourselves, either mentally or out loud. We can change our life. If you don't like the job you are in, you can change this. If you do not like the house you live in or the country you live in, you can change it. The least useful way to try to change something is to go after it three-dimensionally, meaning with action, without changing your thoughts. Realize it is your inner thought that created your hologram out there. And put your consciousness back inside. Find the energy pattern of the thing you are trying to change and change it in energy or as energy. This is where you start. Everything, the source of everything is consciousness. Consciousness steps itself down into energy, and then we know E equals mc squared. So energy, the frequency of energy slowed down becomes matter. So they're all the same thing. So what you can change something on an energetic level, and it'll change it. It changes the actual pattern. You also learn there is a specific responsibility of manifestation. It is good that things do not leap out of our heads instantaneously. There is about a 3-day lag before it starts to filter down into what we are manifesting and begins to circulate back through. From the time we think it here, pull it through, and then it splits itself back out into the hologram. If it was instantaneous, imagine all the things you might have created already. We have to relearn what we once knew. And that is how to manage the energies of our emotional bodies, which is not easy to do. We, created as human beings, created as indigos, were created out of love, from love, through love, of love. We have a responsibility, if we want that quality to remain expressed and manifest, to embody it, hold it, be it, perpetuate it, just like our Creator did. With love as a responsibility, it really gets easy where you just ask yourself, am I acting out of love right now or something else? Or is this something that is leading me towards love, harmony, and away from lack, towards oneness, or is this leading me in the opposite direction? It might be fear. It might be anger. It might be depression. And it might be absolutely justified because that person has no right to do this to me. However, no matter how horrible the situation, if we can remember to remind our 3D minds to look for it, there is always an expression of divine love. There's always a purpose in everything. Everything has a purpose. There is no such thing as coincidence. Some things to ponder. How would you go about embodying, holding, perpetuating, and being love? Today, take a moment and practice looking for the divine love within all situations. What do you want to change in your life? What is the inner thought that keeps it in manifestation? Send a spark of your consciousness into the energy pattern of what you are trying to change, and change it in or as energy. And some LTR statements. I am divine love. I create always through divine love. I just want to pause for a minute. Do we have any comments or any questions at the moment? Okay, I'll keep going. Love in the eGroup. There are those with a strong passion for the freedom teachings who can spot agendas quite easily and often respond to agendas rather than individuals. We work hard here to keep those agendas off the eGroup. And as I said, this is addressing a particular group, but we can take this and apply it to our own situation. And sometimes get a bit angry when they appear, like when somebody posts something particularly negative. The question we ask ourselves is, are we setting boundaries or stepping out of the attitudes and responsibilities of mastery? There are those who think all agendas should be allowed on a list that is dedicated to the freedom teachings. The speakers have a similar thought on this. Love and respect all, but don't take any crap. People have different approaches in addressing an issue. Some tough love, some soft love. People who approach with tough love are sometimes labeled as bullies, disrespectful, spreading poison, etc. Love is love. For every post that stirs a pot, we will get 12 offline comments about how terrible that answer is, and 12 comments about how wonderful it is. Oftentimes, things appear on the list from people who are just having a bad day. And then the art of detachment and allowance is a fun one to practice. Obviously, there is a lesson for us all in each post, and a risk of stepping into judgment with our reactions. Reaction to a post is sometimes an indication of a preference or a style from what we have observed, and from what we are learning, a good chance to practice detachment and allowance. There is a time for tough love and a time for soft love. The true art is in knowing when each is appropriate, and that, I find, is not always easy. The Guardian Council, which is these very high beings, have been wrestling with that for several billion years. At-ONE-Ment. And you know, when I was growing up, my father used to call this atonement, and it had a completely different meaning, but it means at-one-ment. There can be no real separation between the individual and the God mind. The morphogenetic template of identity upon which the individual consciousness manifests exists as an intrinsic part of the cosmic identity structure. And both the individual and cosmos exist eternally within the God mind. The process towards spiritual advancement to attain at-one-ment with God is not a process of recreating a condition that once existed in the beginning and then was lost. Rather, it is a process of progressively expanding one's individual awareness, both outward and inward, beyond the boundaries of personality individuation, to encompass the totality of the ever-present God mind. The journey towards at-one-ment with God, which is described as atonement in traditional religious writings, is a process of expanding into the recognition of I am God, knowing itself as a living expression of this infinite consciousness. You know, I remember I said this to one of my younger sisters once. I said, Nancy, I am God. And she got all offended, and she thought I was saying I'm God over everyone else. No, this is a recognition that we're all a part of the one. Knowing itself as an eternal collective consciousness within which no real separation exists between God and its infinite manifestation. When one expands to encompass the knowing that I am God, one simultaneously understands that all is God, and therefore it does not place the personal individuated identity as above or superior to any other manifestation of the God mind. Humility in reference to all life, not illusions of personal grandeur, are the results of knowing oneself as the I Am presence in complete at-one-ment with God. Some things to ponder. Say to yourself, I am God. How does that make it feel? Does your body contract or expand? Do you feel joy or do you feel like crying? Breathe, and on the inhale say, I am. And on the exhale say, God. On the in-breath, I am. And on the out-breath, God. Continue to breathe while saying, I am God. At-one-ment and absolute love. There is the only absolute cure for any malady is absolute love. Through the conditions of at-one-ment with God, genuine love can be known. The feeling of love is the result of the condition of vibrational harmonization, or the co-resonance of consciousness, between the lover and the beloved. Expansion into at-one-ment with God creates the condition of absolute harmonization between the individual consciousness and the God mind, a co-resonance of consciousness between God and the individuated manifestations of itself. In terms of felt experience, at-one-ment creates the feeling of absolute love, unconditional love, the quality of love the God mind experiences toward all of its manifestations, with whom it eternally remains in a state of vibrational co-resonance of consciousness. All things exist within the mind of God. Let me read that again. All things exist within the mind of God, meaning there's nothing that is not part of God. And so, the God mind exists in a perpetual state of vibrational co-resonance of absolute love with all manifestations of itself. The experience of lack of love reflects the condition of non-resonance of consciousness between the individuated manifestation of God and the totality of the God mind. Non-resonance of consciousness, or vibrational disharmony, between the individual mind and the God mind can only be manifested by the individual who has yet to achieve at-one-ment with the totality of itself as a manifestation of the God mind. Personal expansion into at-one-ment, or harmonic resonance with the God mind, allows the individual to transcend all vibrational disharmonics of consciousness, to retain co-resonance with the cosmos. At-one-ment creates absolute love, and absolute love is the eternal vibrational co-resonance of consciousness that holds the structures of the cosmos together. Absolute love creates the experience of absolute joy and ecstatic fulfillment, and in human terms generates the emotional attributes of all those feelings and sensations deemed as good. All conditions of disease, conflict, pain, anguish, and suffering are the direct results and manifestation of vibrational disresonance of consciousness with the God mind. Some LTR, linguistic template reprogramming statements or affirmations. I am in harmonic resonance with the God mind. I am in at-one-ment with God Source. I am absolute love. The eternal light. We are a part of the soul of God's Source. We always will be, as long as we choose the eternal light. Eternal light is the only true light, and the other lights will grow brightly, then dim. Eternal light goes always from the darkness to the dim to the bright, and then cycles back again, and goes into the velvet darkness, and returns again and eternally. It is still a light that just stays. It is a light that moves and breathes like the soul of Source. The teachings we call the freedom teachings are one way of choosing the eternal way. There are others in other systems that reflect the same teachings these teachings are teaching you, because there is one truth. It is the truth of original creation. It is an encryption and a process, and intention and a love. No matter what truth one may choose to honor or not, that truth cannot be touched or changed. It is the one divine constant. It is the constant truth through which Source did create and continually creates the universe. We can choose truth that serves to bring in more of the truth to our experience, or we can serve truths that are twisted truths that take us further away from the feeling. The words are only small things used to convey small parts of a greater experience that is spirit. Spirituality is a part of our journey where the words become less and less, and the feeling becomes more and more. As we take this step into the thresholds of the garden, as we begin to prepare ourselves for the ability again to re-enter the edons, I'll come back to that in a minute, what the edons are. As we begin to prepare ourselves for the ability again to re-enter the edons, as we prepare our Tauren to purge out anything that is not of the original eternal truth, we are preparing for a great celebration. We are preparing for a place where words have their purpose, but they become less and less useful in describing the largeness of the truth that will come on waves of love. Love is a state of co-resonant vibration, where two patterns meet and harmonize. They can say words to express that, but it is the wave, the eternal wave of co-resonant vibration that is the truth of love. We call this the encryption. Encryption is what you can feel. You can't describe it, but you can feel it or know it. It is like words are the picture frame around the picture, and the love is the ever-moving picture. We are re-entering the zone of love that will get less and less words and more feeling. What they say when they say re-enter the edons, they're talking about realms. There are many cycles of creation, and the edon represents a state. There's a state of evolution, and the edon is the state we were in before we entered this state, which is physical reality. So it's relative when they speak of the Garden of Eden. This is what they're referring to. This is what it originally meant. I suppose it could be a real place, but in general, the Edons represent another domain before this one. Some things to ponder. The eternal truth of the God Self. I am love, and I am loved. Love others as you would love the self, and love the self as you would like to love others. And some affirmations. I am love. I recognize that I am the truth of the all-oneness. Okay. Grace. If you approach God with grace, you will know the grace of God. Grace is an interesting word. Grace is just like love. There is a reality of energy in the state of grace. Hanatilia is one word you could call it. When all your Merkabahs are light bodies, when all your Merkabahs are working in sync and bringing all of your higher consciousness and direct connection to God fully into your body. Before we can get to Hanatilia, which would be a state of grace, you have to enter grace. Grace is where you get rid of the perceptual filters picked up either here or in some other lifetime that are limiting you. The filters that are telling you things that make your emotional body feel afraid or fearful. We can teach ourselves to be fearless. We can teach ourselves to be effective. We can teach ourselves to face any experience in a state of grace. Grace means you cannot like something and have a preference for it to be a different way, but hate is unknown to you. You can use the word hate and know you do not mean it. It is a non-word to you because the emotion of hate does not live within you. That is part of the state of grace. It is being able to love those who are causing you harm or causing the planet harm. That does not mean laying yourself down as a doormat so they can trample all over you. Part of the state of grace means being quietly assertive, where you honor yourself because you are a face of God. You honor everybody else too, even if they forget that they are also a face of God and are acting like they are not. But you cannot forget to honor you. And this is what the other schools of thought that teach you to be a martyr. They slap the God in you right in the face. And when you honor those belief systems more than you honor the God that lives and breathes through you, you are slapping God in the face, and you're slapping yourself in the face. So this is the time to really get into the idea of grace. Being in a state of grace is when you allow the all-oneness to be what it is, regardless of whether it suits you. Living perpetual forgiveness. And from my own experience, once you get more into the state of grace, you find that perpetual forgiveness isn't even necessary because you're not holding anything against anybody, because you realize that they've forgotten who they are. Being in a state of grace is when you allow the all-oneness to be what it is, regardless of whether it suits you, living perpetual forgiveness, and actually move beyond the place eventually where forgiveness is something you do not do anymore. Forgiveness implies you had to hold it against somebody in the first place. It implies you had to judge it instead of love it in the first place. Now, it is still in our state of evolution down here to use the tool of forgiveness because of the messed up way love is thrown around. That word is thrown around, that emotion is thrown around. I am recognizing the truth of the all-oneness. And I am recognizing that every person has free will that they might choose to use differently. And the ones that suffer the most from their choices are themselves. So I have compassion. There is a whole evolution of emotion that happens as we begin to integrate the higher frequencies. For now, forgiveness is a start, because it is better than being stuck in blame and in judgment, where you just hold in anger. And when you hold in, whenever you hold in emotions, emotions are emotions, energy in motion. That's what it's intended to be, is energy in motion. So if you hold it in, basically you're creating a state of disease. To me, this is how cancer is created. People hold all this anger and all these stuff within, and it turns into disease. Or it'll manifest as post-traumatic stress. Anger is twisted love. It's literally reversed. And hurt is the feeling of not having a harmonious love experience in whatever you're being hurt with or through. Hurt builds to anger. It is love being turned inside out. I can really strongly dislike the behavior, love the being, just like you love the child. But you do not have to put up with the behavior. You can try to make changes with the behavior. You can have issues with the behavior. But the being, it is a piece of God. No matter how bad the behavior, love is what all beings deserve. To me, every human being, no matter who or what they are, has two very basic needs: to love and to be loved, whether they acknowledge this or not. Some things to ponder. How could we teach someone to be fearless? What are some of the ways you can honor yourself as a face of God's source? Some affirmations. I am fearless. I recognize the truth of the all-oneness. Gracelessness. One of the most beautiful statements I ever heard Iesha say, Iesha is the speaker who brings these teachings out, was that when you approach God with grace, you will know the grace of God. It does no service to anyone to respond to someone else's lack of manners. Immaturity, discourtesy is not tolerated by the Eoni. And the Eoni are one of the races that help bring this information through. Manners were or should have been learned by most of us in the sandbox. No one is talking lofty spiritual principles here, just plain simple common courtesy. Not responding is certainly a reflection, explanation of their behavior. I choose not to respond to it. However, you may wish to. That is your choice, as it is mine. Some things to ponder. Try to hear what you are saying when you do not like something. Are you using the word hate? If so, try changing the energy around the thoughts in your mind by using the term prefer or preference. For example, instead of saying, I hate hot days, say, instead, I prefer cool days. Some affirmations. I am grace. I allow the all-oneness to be what it is, regardless of whether it suits me. I live perpetual forgiveness. And I think that would be a good place to pause for today. We'll continue with gratitude next week.
Okay, let me just unmute the lines, Michael, and see if anybody's got anything to add. Okay.
Anybody have any comments or questions?
Okay, must not. Well, that's great stuff. I really enjoyed that today, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah, every time I read this, I get more out of it. And it sets the pattern for my whole day whenever I read stuff like this. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, I will add in here, forgiveness is something that I've really been on for the past, I would say, 4 years through some situations I've been in. And what you were saying really about it doesn't even come up in your system anymore and into yourself when you are not judging others by their actions. And you don't have to forgive something that you just accepted. I kind of say a lot now, I am in control of my journey, and I cannot let what other people do affect me. So I just accept other people's choices. Not to say that it's 100% of the time, but it's very, very true that once you go into that state, that forgiveness is, you don't have to forgive anybody.
Right, because you haven't held it against them in the first place.
Right.
Rosalinda is asking if she can make a comment. Rosalinda, we have you. Let me make sure I have you unmuted.
Wait, she's muted again. Okay.
Yeah, I just unmuted it. Huh. Actually, I think there's a chat box. Let me just. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it?
Yes, there is.
This is new to me, so. Okay, here it is. It says instruct attendees to dial *6 or click the Q&A button from the toolbar to be placed in the queue. So if you're on the phone, yeah, there we go. It says we have one pending question. Let me see, how do I get to it?
Go up to, it just says it's not working. Can you type in the box there, Rosalinda?
Yeah, it says I have 2 pending questions, but I don't know how to get to them. Quiet. Remove questions, no. Click to engage questioner. She says so much to say, darn. Tell you what, Rosalinda, we'll figure this out, how this works next week. She says, I love this. Good, I did too. Me too, just can't get it to work. Yeah, we're using freeconferencecall.com, so we kind of have to take with it what it is and figure things out.
Yeah, Kellyanne said she loved it as well.
I'll be posting the link to access the recording, and also usually within about 6 hours, so by this afternoon, this will be posted to YouTube, and you can find it by just doing a search on 12 attitudes, and it should come up. And like I said, I also sometimes post the link to the YouTube link, but there's also a direct one that you can get to right away, right as soon as the show's over. So I'll post those. She says, wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, everybody, and we'll look forward to seeing you here next week. And say to yourself, I am grace. I allow the all-oneness to be what it is, regardless of whether it suits me. I live perpetual forgiveness. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Oh, wait a minute. I think I just see the question. Now I see the questions. There they are. Here they are. Okay. Here they are. Okay, now I figured that out. All right, everybody. We will see you next Monday, and you all have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you, Michael. Love to you all.
Okay, bye-bye.